Well, hey there. Welcome to day 9 of our 5th Get Up and Go challenge this year. This year we've done 5 30+ day challenges to deal with change, deal with challenges, deal with things that happen that we feel like are outside of our control, that we want to make sure we're better off after we've experienced them than before we experienced them. And there's a process and there's a way and there's a framework for doing that. And that's what we are breaking down in great detail during this 30-day challenge. Yesterday we talked about your change reaction. How do you react and respond immediately to a change or a challenge or something that's unexpected? It can be unexpected in a good way or unexpected in a bad way. And we brainstormed and we looked at and we used ourselves as our own science experiments to discover what and how do we automatically respond, because how we respond, how we react to things has been conditioned and trained into us. We weren't born knowing how to react to changes and challenges. Well, actually we were born knowing how to cry, right? We could breathe, we could cry, we could do natural bodily functions, but that was about it when we were born. So everything else we have learned and acquired through our experiences, through the people that we've been around, through the way they dealt with changes and challenges. Maybe you had a relative that was amazing at handling change and they just taught you how to do it extremely well. Most of us were not that fortunate. So today we're going to talk about how do we change your reaction? How do we take control of that process, and how do we make sure that we are doing things in our own best interest? So I want to get rid of the automatic WTF response and substitute it with something else. Well, what's the best way to do that? The best tool I have personally found in all my years of searching and looking to change something from what it is to what I want it to be as quickly as possible is to do something called flip switch. Flip switching I learned from Lynn Grabhorn. She wrote a book called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting, and she has a companion, and there's been other books written in that series. She has since passed away, but she's got an incredibly challenging yet educational and fun personal development. I call it a personal development book. And it's a playbook. It's a book of exercises that take you through a lot of exercises that deal with different experiences that we've all had. It's kind of woo-woo for a lot of people. I went through it for the first time in 2011. I was told about it by Jim Edwards, if anybody knows the online sensation and amazing gentleman Jim Edwards. He is the one that actually told me about the playbook. I'd read the book, but I didn't know that there was a companion playbook when I read it. And he said, hey, you need to do that playbook. It's amazing. And I did it in 2011. It took me a year to do it. Now, I started it as part of COVID this year again, and I thought, oh, I'll just breeze right through it. And lo and behold, it's the end of, it's December, and I am maybe halfway through that book. So I guarantee it's going to take me a year again to work through all the exercises in it. That's how powerful a tool and book it is. I highly recommend it. I really, really do. So flip switching is a tool that I learned in that book and in that workbook from Lynn Grabhorn. And I still practice it today because it's a really powerful way of taking something that you don't want and turning it into what you do want. If you think about, somebody asks you, and we did this early on in this challenge too, is if somebody asks you, what do you want? What happens? We immediately think of all of the things that we don't want, right? It's so easy to think of the things that we don't want. How do you get from what you don't want to what you do want? You just flip the switch, just like a light switch. You flip it on and off. You do the same thing from the negative to the positive, which is exactly what a light switch does, right? With electricity, it just changes the direction of the current, or it actually stops or flows the current. So how can we take some of the things that we thought of yesterday that are in our process that aren't working for us, like WTF, and what can we flip that to make it be something that we automatically use to work for us? So what are some of the things that came up for me when I first started doing this exercise, and asked myself, what is my change process? Well, when a change or a challenge comes up, I often resist it, right? I push against it and I resist it. And so what's the opposite of that? What's the flip switch of that? Well, accepting what is. I don't know if I've shared this story here or not, about how I used to be super duper frustrated all the time. And it's primarily because WTF was the question that was always rolling around in my subconscious. And I would be frustrated all the time, and I would resist change, and I would want explanations for why things weren't the way I expected them to be. And all I needed to do was stop expecting things to be different than they were and just accept what is. Say, okay, well, this is what's going on right now. What do I do next? And that was so much more powerful than being frustrated and trying to make excuses for why things weren't the way I thought they should be. What's another type of reaction we might have to a change or a challenge? How about denial? Denying that something is going on. We're seeing a whole lot of that going on in the media right now. There's a lot of denying going on about things. How do we counteract denying? Well, we be present. We be present in the moment, and we say again, instead of resisting and denying, well, what is the real situation? What's really going on here? And we, and other things we tend to do is we might ignore. My old way of dealing with challenges and change was I would just ignore it and hope that it went away. Well, how do we flip switch that? Well, we open our eyes and our mind, and we ask ourselves, what else is possible, right? What else could be possible if we were opening our mind about it? We might complain or bitch or moan about the situation. And how I flip switch that is I try to take the emotion out of it. I try to, use my objective brain and think about the facts and what's really going on, and take my initial emotional reaction out of it. Sometimes many people feel like they're a victim of the change. We feel like we don't have any control. How do we deal with that? What's the flip switch of that? I always look for the lesson or the blessing or the positives or the gift in the situation. As negative as some changes and challenges feel, there's always an upside in them. There's always a gift. No matter what happens to us, we can look at it and we can look at all the things that we lose because of it, or we can look at the things that we gain because of it. Maybe we just gain a better sense of ourselves, a better sense of what we're capable of. Maybe we realize that we're a lot more resilient and stronger than we thought we were before the change or the challenge happened to us. Sometimes I don't know about you, but I would get super duper upset or angry or negative about a change or a challenge. What do you do in that case? I flip that to getting excited, looking at and getting curious, finding out, well, what's in it to me? I wonder what if, why not? Why not? Why can't this be a positive thing? Where is in this that I can turn around and I can use to my advantage? Sometimes I would look for a way out. And I would look for a way just to not be part of the change or the challenge. And changes or challenges, I'm not just talking about COVID. I'm talking about jobs and relationships and all different types of challenges that we face in our life. But instead of looking for a way out, I would switch from focusing on the problem to looking for solutions, looking for ways to deal with the situation that would leave me better off than I was before. So I would change my focus to solutions from focusing on the problem. Procrastination, probably one of my all-time favorites, is I would again be solution focused, and I'd look for I'd analyze and decide what I was going to do, and I'd only look for what do I need to do right now, instead of procrastinating and thinking that I have to solve the whole problem or deal with the whole situation right now. I focus just on the next thing. I flip switch to, instead of having to solve the whole problem, which is what most of us tend to do, we're like, I can't start until I know all the steps to where I want to go, right? Crazy. Now, we do that though sometimes, right? Say we're going on a trip. We plug in our GPS, the destination, and now we know all the steps how to get there, right? We know that we've got a map of how to get there. If that works for you, go ahead and map out some of the things, but don't worry about if you get stuck or you don't know what to do. Always just focus on what is next. What is the next thing I need to do? Whining, bitching, moaning, I think I talked about that, but I would look for things that are good, that I could compliment about the situation. So if I'm complaining about something about myself, then I would look for, number one, I'd say, is that really true? And then I'd ask myself that question. And if it's really not true, then I would find something to compliment myself about. Doing nothing, again, is a lot like procrastination. So often we're faced with a change or a challenge. We just want to freeze and do nothing. So I say that is when we move it and we get up and go. That's part of where this get up and go challenge stems from, is that I saw myself and I saw, knowing, having a situation where it was at first 2 weeks, then it was a month, then it was 3 months, then it's just been, I'm talking about COVID and the lockdowns. The changes associated with that have been ever changing. The information about it has been not factual, very sketchy, and ever changing. And so there's a lot of controversy around that particular subject as well, and about businesses closing and opening and everything, every which way but loose. And so sometimes we want to just and with uncertainty, we don't really know what to do. We don't really know what to do. And so I didn't want to get stuck and stay in that bubble, especially since this bubble has expanded and expanded. I mean, we can be in a bubble for a short period of time, but beyond a few days or a week, I don't know about you, but I start to get cabin fever and antsy, and I need to know what to do. So that's part of what the Get Up and Go Challenge was born from, is I don't want to stay stuck, and I don't want the people that I love and care about to stay stuck, and that includes you. So let's get up and go and figure it out together. So flip switching, that's just kind of a quick walk through at the top of my head. How you flip switch, how you take something and do the opposite of it, and how powerful that is. One of the fastest ways we can change our state and change how we're feeling about things is to change our body, to move, to change our physiology, to smile, to listen to something positive, to feed our brain something positive and exciting and something that makes us feel good. It's all about feeling good. So our action item today is to flip switch your exercise from yesterday. So I took my Post-it note, which I cannot reach right now, and I took the things that I wrote down on that as my process, my old process, and I said, okay, what is the opposite of these? And that's kind of the list I just ran through with you, is what's the opposite of this? What is possible? What else is possible? What could be possible if I open my mind and I think about what I could do? Not exactly what I've done in the past, but what I could possibly do. And maybe I've never done it before. Maybe I have never just accepted what is and then moved on from there. That's a big one for me, because I'm pretty much like to change things and have things my own way. So that's a big one. Resistance is a big one for me personally. But take and look at that list, flip switch it just for practice, and then in the comments below, share one thing that you want to change in how you personally deal with changes and challenges, because this is about your change reaction. I know what I need to change, but what is most important for you to change? For me, it is probably procrastination. But pick the one thing of your current process that you are committed to changing and share that in the comments below. That is our action item for today. Any questions, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow with our next step in the Get Up and Go Challenge. Have a great day.